Back in 1999, some critics bashed Donkey Kong 64 for being overly repetitive and having too many collectibles.
And now it's finally time for me to turn around and say, you're all wrong! Well, sort of.
Okay.
So, Donkey Kong 64. This is another one of those games which I played a lot of when I was a small child. It is a 3D platformer in a similar vein to Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie. As you can probably imagine, as I love those two games, I was obviously going to love this one too. For a Nintendo 64 game, this game was huge. You had 9 worlds, including the hub world, DK Isle. Fans may have seen this more recently being referenced in King K. Rool's Final Smash in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. In each world, there's a ton of collectibles. You thought Banjo-Tooie was packed with stuff. Yeah, this had it all. I won't go through everything because if I did, I'll be here all day. The primary aim was to collect the golden bananas and defeat the bosses in each world. As you progress, eventually you will get to the final boss, which is King K. Rool. You have to defeat him because he wants to blow up DK Isle. It doesn't get as simple as that. This guy is not messing about now because he's been defeated 3 times previously in Donkey Kong Country games, and now he's just had enough. He's had enough of Donkey Kong. He wants to blow up his island. In order to face the bosses, you need to collect a certain amount of different coloured bananas. Why are they coloured bananas, you ask? Well, that's because there are 5 playable characters: Donkey Kong, Diddy Kong, Tiny Kong, Lanky Kong, and Chunky Kong. So that's 9 worlds with 5 Kongs. Jesus, that's huge for 1999. Yeah, it was so huge that you needed an expansion pack in order to play this beast. Only 3 games in the entire console library needed this expansion pack in order to play them the way that they were meant to be played. There was this game, Majora's Mask, and Perfect Dark. For me, the best thing about this game is the thing I think people complain the most about, and it's the size of the game. I've seen videos where critics have complained about the level design and the ridiculous scale of the game and all the stuff that you had to collect. I can see where they're coming from. When you consider that there are so many collectibles, which in some cases are exclusive to each of the 5 Kongs, there is going to be backtracking. Some people can't stand it. I myself don't mind it too much. You backtrack a lot in games like Metroid Prime when you're looking for things like the Chozo artifacts towards the end of the game. Things like this I really don't mind, but I can see why people do. It's probably why things were changed up for the HD remake for the Wind Waker when it came to the Triforce hunt towards the end of that game. I think what daunts most players is also the amount of golden bananas you have to collect. In this game, you have to collect 201 of them. Now, I'll admit, that's a lot. Probably a bit too much for this era in gaming history, but when you compare this to what has come out since, I think nothing more of it, and I enjoy DK64 for what it is. A giant collectathon. Now, the argument about level design from these critics is valid. I will say, while I don't hate it, there have certainly been better ones from around this time period. When you look at the 2D Donkey Kong Country games, those levels are some of the best ones that have ever been made in video game history. Banjo-Kazooie had a much more memorable set of worlds to explore, barring Rusty Bucket Bay, because that world was just... ugh. Donkey Kong 64's worlds can be forgettable at times, and it is mainly due to the size of them. I always got lost in worlds like Gloomy Galleon and Crystal Caves. To counter-argument this though, we have some amazing worlds like Jungle Japes, Angry Aztec, Frantic Factory, Fungi Forest, and Creepy Castle. In my opinion, the positives outweigh the negatives significantly. Moreover, we have numbered warp pads. These are a godsend. I always love when you have that banana that goes around you when you warp as well. I always loved it as a kid, I still do now. Without these, the game suffers a lot. That, in my book, is ingenious game design, and it would only go on to be perfected 1 year later with Banjo-Tooie. Now, in terms of how this game plays, it is your typical 3D platformer of the time. But this time, you get to play as 5 characters. Each character, of course, has their own moveset, and oh my god, I do not have time to go through all of them. If this was back in the old days of James Games, before I even renamed the series as James Games, I probably would have done this and bored all of my millions of viewers to death. All I will say is, I love all of the Kongs. This game gets right what Mario 64 DS did wrong, and Lanky Kong has got the best move out of all the Kongs. Why? Well, just look at this! He really is one hell of a guy. Speaking of the DK rap, it's just the pinnacle of gaming, isn't it? Anything Grant Kirkhope touches turns to gold. The rap, the whole soundtrack for that matter, it's just all golden. Each world has its own memorable tune, even if some of the worlds, as I mentioned earlier, are forgettable in terms of what's in them. And this brings me to the main meat of this game, and that's the challenges that you face in this game. Back in this era of 3D platformers, we had Mario collecting 120 stars and then saving Princess Peach from Gay Bowser, and we had Banjo collecting 100 jiggies to save his sister from the wicked bitch of the Northwest. In this game, we have 5 Kongs collecting 201 golden bananas. And you'd be foolish if you thought that this game was going to be a cakewalk and it wasn't going to be challenging. You have your easy golden bananas, but then you have some of them which are bitches to collect due to the bullshit nature of the mini-games. One of them you have to race against a stupid beetle as Tiny Kong. This puts the penguin race from Mario 64 to shame. This should be banned if Nintendo ever decide to remake this game. But that's just scratching the surface. There's also one where you have to race a rabbit, and this is beyond tedious. There's a minecart one which I took days to do as well. Seriously, you thought that the 2D minecart sections from Donkey Kong Country was bad? Yeah. This is also bad. But then there's Beaver Bother. It's bad enough doing this once, but when you need to do this twice in the game, you know that there's some problems here. Now, in Beaver Bother, you play as a claptrap. Not this claptrap, this claptrap. You have to make 15 of the beavers which spawn fall into the hole in the middle in 60 seconds. Now, you think that this will be easy, right? It's not. This one is unforgivable. I don't even know how this works. The beavers never go in the right direction. Like, what the fuck was up with the AI here? I'm sorry, but it has to be said. When you're aiming for 100% completion, you are going to hit a few hurdles along the way. Beaver Bother is one of these occasions where it isn't your fault when you fail. It's just bullshit. Donkey Kong 64 is one of the best games to go for 100% completion with, but it takes a lot of patience due to all the things that you have to do and everywhere you have to explore. Things like Beaver Bother make it testing at times, and sometimes it just makes you think for a moment, why am I doing this again? Ultimately though, I can manage it. Eventually I beat Beaver Bother and all the other challenges that I had to face. But then I found out that to truly 100% this game, there were 2 other challenges, and these tipped me over the edge. One was an arcade machine which features an obscure game known as Jetpack. Now this was a game made by Rareware back in the early 1980s. Rare, of course, made this game, so it was like a love letter to all of the fans who were stuck with Rareware for all of that time. And for the most part, I find this quite hard, but I managed to overcome it, and actually it's quite fun trying to get a high score. The reward you get for this is a Rareware coin, so like I said, it really is a true love letter to Rareware fans, and that's great. Then I found out about the Nintendo coin, and this could be found in Frantic Factory on another arcade machine. No. Not this game.